This is Zorro Ranch, a location in New Mexico where Jeffrey Epstein allegedly planned on turning into a baby-making factory. This is allegedly part of plans to experiment in human cloning, DNA manipulation, genetic engineering, or creating human hybrids or offspring. Jeffrey Epstein was a known eugenicist and transhumanist, thinking they could tinker with God's creation to make something better or more powerful. This is Juliette Bryant, a South African Epstein survivor who was trafficked under the false premise of a modeling career back in 2002. She alleges she woke up paralyzed and naked on a table at this ranch in a laboratory one night. She says that a female doctor performed an extraction surrounded by about 6 men in hazmat suits. Epstein spoke of, quote, perfecting the human genome and passing on desirable traits through controlled breeding. Newly released Epstein documents from just a few weeks ago referenced genetic altruism and a superior gene pool. He also donated over $120,000 to the World Trans-Humanist Organization, frequently discussed at gatherings and emails DNA manipulation, inherited traits, IQ enhancement, and improving the human population. So the next time someone starts talking to you about transhumanism or life extension, think about the cost of doing that research, who's involved, and what it takes to actually achieve these ends. Scientists just successfully copied a fruit fly's brain into a computer. That's one whole living consciousness uploaded digitally. Sure, it's just a fruit fly. It only has 140,000 neurons. A human being has 86 billion. But hasn't Moore's Law shown us that scaling innovation happens much faster than we'd expect? And theoretically, this fruit fly, which now exists inside of a digital world, couldn't they speed up the time as it's perceived by the fly? What could they do to a fruit fly over 1 million years of evolution? Or 1 billion? And how soon will science fiction be real, with people uploading their consciousness into computers? Okay, you've uploaded yourself, but are you still physically here, looking at the copy of yourself in the machine? Or do you experience the world from the perspective of the copy in the machine? Do you believe in souls? And if so, where is the soul? Unfortunately, Black Mirror is starting to look more and more like a documentary. Ozempic, tirzepatide, retatrutide. These are miracle drugs helping people lose weight and generally be healthier, like Kelly Osbourne or Demi Moore. Sorry, Demi. But the fun doesn't stop there. Apparently these drugs affect the addiction pathways in the brain, so people are having less cravings for other things like cocaine, gambling, alcohol. This sounds great, right? Well, apparently and allegedly, and I'm no doctor, but apparently these same pathways are responsible for love and desire. So is this what our future will look like? A world full of shredded zombies, wandering around desiring nothing but six-pack abs. Apparently more than 60 million people are currently on these drugs. Could the only way to survive in the current modern world full of addictive temptations be to take a drug which makes you want nothing? What effect is that going to have on everything? If you no longer desire your partner, is there any reason to stay with them? And if your partner goes on these drugs, gets fit, and falls out of love with you, do you have to get on the drug too? Especially if they're losing weight and not feeling anything for you? The best defense is to feel nothing back. You could also just try eating more fiber, less carbs, and more protein. Just a thought. The US is engaged in a war that's destroying everything it stands for, and it's doing it at the behest of the Epstein class. We're engaged in a war with a 2,700-year-old ancient civilization because the leader of this country says we should, and the leader of this country does anything that leader says we should. The only explanation is that this leader is mentally impaired, evil, or completely controlled. The facts are that Jeffrey Epstein was highly involved with the Mossad, arranging deals which would benefit the Israeli government. Are we really under the illusion that most, if not all, of the people implicated in the Epstein files are influenced, if not completely controlled, by this government? Why else would this leader be willing to engage in actions which put this country in danger while serving the long-term interests of this country? And how is the average American expected to remain patriotic when something like this is happening under their flag? Yes, those are children, and those are explosions. This is a school in Iran near a military installation. Unfortunately, the school was struck, and it's estimated that over 150 children lost their lives. It's alleged to be an accident, but considering there was a strike and then another strike 45 minutes later, it seems like an intentional double tap, something that's done to hurt the people there and then hurt the first responders coming to help them. This falls perfectly in line with the Jewish belief of Amalek from the Hebrew Bible, which justifies not only destroying your enemies, but also destroying his wife, his children, his cousins, his in-laws, and his dog. Netanyahu has referenced this several times referring to Hamas, which seems to justify destroying an entire people. So, from this perspective, double-tapping a school where government officials' children likely go would make perfect sense to this country. But what makes sense about eradicating children to this country? This is one of the first wars where AI is actively being used for targeting, so some are blaming a malfunction of the AI. Either way, could I possibly paint a darker, more dystopian picture for you? This is what your tax dollars are paying for, and this is what your vote got you. My vote. So what can we do? I think the only option is to aggressively vote out anyone who associates themselves with this country, or anyone associated with this list. If we can collectively all wake up and do whatever is necessary to stop this evil, maybe the next time we hold our hands over our hearts for the national anthem, we can do so without cognitive dissonance or shame.